Hi folks, Kevin here. Well, I'm up in the second food forest, which is on the north side of the property near the road. That's the house behind, and you're going to notice all these tree tubes all around on the property. If you've seen some of the other videos, you'll see them every place in the food forest. There's something that I started using about 2 years ago, and they've worked out extremely well. And so I thought I'd at least make a little video showing what these tree tubes are. They're different than some of the tree tubes that I've seen in the past. So in the past, I've gone ahead and I've talked about some of the failures I've had on site with deer rub and deer browsing, chopping off many of the perennial bushes and many trees. The traditional tree tubes that I've seen in the past are simple, intact tubes that are approximately 4 inches in diameter, and I'm sure you can get them in other sizes. These ones have holes in them on the upper half of the tree for good airflow. But the thing that's most important that I like about it is that they're reusable in multiple ways. This actually opens up and folds for inspection and for modification. And so I'm going to show you a little bit on the ground what one of these actually looks like, and then I'm going to go over a couple of points that I think are important. So when you get the tubes from TreePro, the company that I purchased these from, they come in a bundle folded over like this, and I've got almost 400 of these now. And these are a tube that you basically use these reusable wire ties or zip ties. Let me see, do I have one in my pocket? Not sure, is this going to show up? So here's one of the zip ties. I'm hoping that it shows up. I can go ahead, use the zip tie. Many of you probably already know about this, but this was something I discovered a couple years ago when I got this product. I can reuse this one over and over again because it actually has a little tab for releasing the unit. So when I press that little tab, the unit will undo, and if it's been left in that position, you actually have to pull it back at first. So you have reusable zip ties. You hook them together, and as you could see, I had a 5-foot rebar going down the tube. These are 5-foot tubes. So when the rebar is pounded in the ground, the rebar only comes to about this height, so about 4 foot. You have a little bit more than a foot in the ground, and you can examine it. You can remove the tree guards. You can pull as other weeds and grasses make their way up in the tree tubes. It's easy to unzip it and pull that material out. So it really works great. The other thing about them is, as the trees get larger, you double or triple or quadruple them. So here's the zip ties going around the rebar. And this was one I just took off of one of the trees. I should bring my hammer out. I'll have to come back with a hammer and tap down that rebar. So there's obvious benefits to using these TreePro tree guards, and there may be other companies that are using this same technique, and this TreePro company may not be the first one to do it. I don't know. I just did some research online, found this company, ordered them, and I've been tickled pink with them ever since. So some of the obvious benefits are, A, you can help to protect the tree from or bushes from extreme winds, certainly from animals browsing them. It actually, I think, would even help with some vole problems potentially. However, the voles go subterranean and will get at the root crown there as well. I haven't had the vole problems, but we've got a lot of cats and a lot of other predators on site that basically keep our vole issues down. So it's a very good form of protection. Now, I've had birds start to nest in the top of them, and I've had aggressive grasses and weeds climb up and decrease photosynthesis, so that's been a bit of an issue. So you have to go back and open them up and pull out any big tall weeds that are overgrowing the rate at which the tree guard apparatus that you're trying to protect, the actual plant that you're trying to protect, if that isn't growing quick enough, the other plant that's competing, the grass or the weed, is going to take more of the sun's energy than the desirable plant that you've got inside of the tree guard. So that's one benefit. So what's one of the drawbacks that I saw? Well, one of the drawbacks is, all right, so before this, the deer kept knocking down my trees like crazy. They'd browse through, or my perennial bushes. Just if they liked them, they kept coming back over and over again, and the tree might get to 4 or 5 foot. Next day I'd come out, it'd be down to about a foot. Very, very frustrating. And they got real bushy and didn't allow it to grow up into the structure or the form that I thought was most desirable for the fruit or the nut tree that I'm growing in these tree tubes. So what's one of the drawbacks? Well, when they're in this tube, they aren't as strong, especially if you keep them 2 years in the tube like I've done. So they're supported by the half-inch rebar that's 5 foot long, driven down to the ground. And we have high winds here, and so when you take the tree tube off, well, they don't have the structural integrity that they would normally have gotten as a result of dealing with that wind as they were growing. So they have to adapt and do it. The other thing is, as the branches are growing, the ones that would normally just branch out to the side actually start shooting straight up. The auxins, the hormones are seeking light, so apical dominance, they keep going straight up instead of doing their lateral branching off to the sides. And as a result, you end up with these very long, let me turn this around. So as a result, you get these very long, so this is a branch that's probably, 4.5 feet, maybe 5 foot long, coming off at about 2 foot high off the ground down here. So we have a whole bunch of these very easily malleable, adjustable branches that would have been side branches coming off very low on the tree that have made their way to the tree top and are doing well. So looking at a problem like this as a permaculturist, we're always looking for the silver lining in each dark cloud. And as a result of these tree tubes protecting them, these side branches, which are much longer than I would normally get in this part of the country without the tree tube, they're really long, they're more malleable, and I seek to see a solution that probably will be even more beneficial, because I would much rather spend my life training trees so that they produce more fruit and nuts than me planning on going out and spending so much of the winter and real early spring pruning all of these trees. We've got hundreds of fruit and nut trees. So as a result of these tree tubes, I see it as a potential. I can train some of these branches now that they're more easily adjustable, instead of putting, like I've used inner tube tires, inner tubes from tires. I cut the slices off, tie that, use it nice and wide so it attaches to a branch, and I pull that down bit by bit so it becomes more lateralized. Instead of reaching up to the sky to increase vegetative growth, I want more productive fruit and nut growth by lateralizing those branches. And as a result, there's less pruning that needs to be done in the future. So I see this as being a real big potential where I can, so as a result of using the tree guard or using the tree tube, it results with a branch that is quite long. Branch is coming from very low. And I think what we're able to do in these situations, or potentially do, is to train that branch in the direction that we want it to go. Ultimately, we can use, oh, the wind's picking up. I don't know how well that's showing up, but we could use inner tube parts or strings, as long as we don't damage the branch itself, and hold it in the position that we want, let it have a season or two. And if we have to prune it some, we do. But I think that training these trees to have the shape and form that's most desirable for our situation, application, and make it more easily manageable, less work intensive later on in the future of the tree when they reach maturity. That's the goal. At least that's one of my goals. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful. My goal was to show you a product that I think has been very valuable for protecting our trees on site, and potentially can help us to train the trees into a shape or a form that'll be less work intensive in the future, more productive, and hopefully make it easier to actually train them. Because ultimately, as time has gone on, I've seen the value of training the trees while they're young, as opposed to maintaining them by continuously massive pruning each season. So if you thought this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I do enjoy the comments and questions. Right now I'm in the beginning, trying to establish our vegetable gardens and all. So we're really cranking around here right now. So thanks so much for watching, folks. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.